Here's what we've gathered on this go-around. A mixture of the enthusiast car market, from carbon fiber lightweights to front drive hatchbacks to German powerhouses and the best American muscle and everything else in between. The lineup goes like this: Volkswagen GTI, Alfa Romeo 4C, Chevrolet Camaro Z28, Jaguar F-Type Coupe R, Porsche 911 Turbo S, Nissan GT-R Nismo, BMW M4, BMW i8, Subaru WRX STI, Ford Fiesta ST. The GT-R has been a consistent and powerful player in World's Greatest Drag Race, losing only to the Lamborghini Aventador and McLaren 12C in our second race. Its only real challenger this year is that 560-horse Porsche 911 Turbo S. How will it do? There's only one way to find out.
Alright, this is it, guys. Here we go. And 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to the most exciting day in Autocar's calendar, when we try to work out which, out of all the great cars we've tested in the last year, is the greatest of them all. Venue, Castle Combe Race Circuit in Wiltshire. Mission, to have as much fun as it's possible to have on four wheels, and hopefully, to reach some kind of a grown-up decision at some stage during the process as well. Castle Combe is notorious for two things. One, how fast it is in places, and two, how bumpy it is, which in a way makes it the perfect circuit on which to test a bunch of fast road cars, like this little lot. The hero corner at Combe is Quarry, a third gear right-hander that's approached over bumps and at anything up to 150 miles an hour in something like the 458 Speciale. There are two chicanes and a fantastically difficult to master right-hander called Tower, at the exit of which the tyre wall is terrifyingly close. Overall, it represents a proper challenge to both car and driver. There's really just one rule that governs what can and can't compete in this contest. A car either needs to be brand new during the previous 12 months, or it's got to be last year's winner. So we gathered 12 cars in total, from the screaming Ferrari 458 Speciale to the Renault Megane Trophy to the 911 GT3, which won the event outright last year. Never before have we had such a high quality lineup of cars, but even so, there were plenty of elements that separated them. Pretty much the entire staff of Autocar turned up to test the cars during our 2-day event to find out which is king of the castle. Here's what some of our testers thought.
What is amazing about this Atom, particularly relative to other Atoms I've driven, is how easy it is to drive. It gives you the confidence that, to be honest, other Atoms haven't done. You can lean on it in a way you've never been able to lean on any other Atom before. I love it, I absolutely love it.
The Corvette has split opinion a little bit on the day, but happily enough it's only between people who really like it and people who just like it a little bit. Power's fantastic, the balance is superb. Castle Comb's very bumpy and it's a lot more compliant than some of the cars that we've got here. It's been a great track car for the day.
One of the things that baffles me about the Jaguar is you shouldn't have to battle a car that is all about the driving. It should make it reasonably easy for you to master, and somehow this doesn't.
I absolutely love the Cayman GTS. Last year we had a Cayman S and I put that in second position behind the 911 GT3 because I felt when you wanted that harder edge, those times you do, it wasn't quite there. But with this GTS, Porsche's given you that harder edge and improved the whole package on top of that at the same time.
So this is the first time that I've driven the coupe version of the McLaren 650S. First thing that strikes me is, although it is the most super of supercars, it rides like a Rolls Royce, so it rides absolutely beautifully. But the second thing that I love about it is the power. It's got so much grunt and its urge is absolutely addictive. It's a much better car than the 12-seater it replaces.
I don't think there is a true lemon here, not in the way that we've had lemons in the past. But relative to expectation, am I more disappointed with this than any other car here? Probably.
We like the VXR8 GTS. We like it more, in fact, than you'd guess, given that inevitably today it's going to be a sort of a bottom three contender in the overall scheme of things. That says more about the handling day test than it does about the VXR8, really. Pretty much any super saloon thrown in against these sports cars and supercars is going to struggle.
Some of the cars here, you get in them and you can go absolutely flat out straight away. In the M4, you really have to spend a lot of time getting to know it, and it's just not quite as rewarding. It's the connection. I never feel that connected to this car.
This way, the 458 it feels so much lighter than it is, and it feels so much more immediate than most of the other things here, and the powertrain is just simply sensational. It's so responsive, it's so fast. It is mega. Not a lot about the Speciale isn't impressive, actually. I mean, I didn't put it first because I prefer the GT3 and the Atom, but it's a little bit, the steering's a little bit too immediate for some people, a little bit too nervy, too edgy. But there's very little wrong with it. I mean, it's a worthy winner every day.
Eventually, and having driven all of these great cars for 2 days straight on both road and track, we narrowed it down to just 3 candidates. The Ariel Atom 3.5R, the Ferrari 458 Speciale, and our returning champ, the 911 GT3. From these, we then tried to pick an outright winner.
It's quite incredible, the Atom. You just don't have to drive very hard in it at all. Even to keep something as rapid as that in sight. It's just amazing. You just take huge chunks out of it under brakes. The corner speeds that you can carry, it's just rude. I mean, he's not getting away from me at all in a straight line. Feels like I could go straight past him there under brakes. go, straight past him under brakes. It just feels rabid, this thing, it really does. It's absolutely berserk. And yet, the front end is just so friendly. I mean, that is properly fast. Oh, the way it stops. It's just bonkers. And yet you can muck around with it on the throttle as well. Just brilliant.
The GT3 pretty much swept aside all comers last year, and it's done really well this year. It's made it into our top 3. It's just such a lovely thing to drive, especially on a track like this. Listen to that motor. Fantastic brakes. Little bit of understeer. There's always going to be a little bit of understeer. It's a 911. Christ, it feels quick down here. Stops just beautifully. Oh, it just feels so bulletproof, the GT3. It's quite hard work. You know, you've had a bit of a wrestle when you climb out of a GT3, having driven it with some commitment around a track like this, but it's just so rewarding. Really is. I'm not sure it's just as finely tuned, just as engaging and awe-inspiring as the Ferrari. It's kind of more clinical than that. Some days this would be the only car you'd want out of all these cars that we've brought to Castle Combe. That's how flipping brilliant the GT3 is. What a car this is! It is so fast, so sorted. I can't believe what this 458 Spec has done to the rest of the handling day lineup. It's looked every single one of them square in the face and just spat them straight out, including a McLaren 650S, including a GT3, including even the Atom. And that is saying something. And it's just got a combination of stunning talents. It's really fast in a straight line. But this is about the handling. This competition was always all about the handling. And the way this thing goes around corners, it absolutely takes your breath away, but it stops for them beautifully. The turning is sick, quite frankly. The gear change is brilliant. It's actually quite friendly as well, near the limit. And considering how good the front end is on it, that is just bonkers. It really is a really, really serious piece of work, the 458 Speciale. Everyone that's driven it has absolutely just loved it to bits. No one more so than me. It's an epic moment in the history of the supercar, the 458 Speciale. I feel really, really privileged and lucky that we've got it to Castle Combe and compared it with all our favourite cars of this year, but be in no doubt, this is the one. This is your winner. Yup, you may well have guessed by now. Our champion this year turned out to be the quite extraordinarily brilliant and just very, very fast 458 Speciale. It's hard to think of any car at any price point right now that delivers more thrills to whoever is lucky enough to climb behind the Speciale's beautiful suede rim steering wheel. And in the end, that's why it won this contest, almost at a canter, with 3 out of 8 judges placing it top and 2 more placing it second. Runner-up was the mighty Atom, which set the fastest lap outright by over a second, and third was the still completely brilliant 911 GT3. What a collection of cars. What a top couple of days out we had in them. And what a clear and obvious winner the Ferrari turned out to be. So, until this time next year,
We've all got that one friend who knows absolutely nothing about cars. He or she will own an Igo or something equally sensible because it was the car in the adverts that sponsored Hollyoaks. It's exactly the type of car that young guys like George will use to drive to the shops for microwave meals and HTML coupons. You'll have to excuse his rudeness. He's busy on Tinder. What the Igo is not then is a petrolhead's car. It's wrong-wheel drive, less powerful than a moped and about as cool as a tattoo of your ex-girlfriend's name. Which is why the guys raided its kitty, robbed a pharmacy, crushed up some pills, washed them down with a bottle of White Lightning and got to work making this, the insane Igo Crazy.
This is not a production car, which means you can't go to your Toyota dealership or you can't look on eBay and you cannot buy one of these things. This Igo Crazy is a one-off car. It cost the guys from Toyota £100,000 to make and they're not selling it, so don't even ask. The reason it cost so much is because they had to chop an Igo and an actual Mark III Toyota MR2 in half and pretty much weld the two together.
If you didn't know any better, you'd think that this car was owned by a racer. But there's a lot more to it than that.
Now the modifications to this crazy Igo don't only amount to a bigger engine and a body kit. You see, lift the bonnet and you've got a fuel tank that sits here. If you want to fill up with fuel, you do it here. Take a look at the side of the car, specifically the wheels. They are grippier, they are larger. If you look to the back of the car, we have got a big wing. It is carbon fibre, it is the business. And if you look right down low, you have got 2 exhaust pipes. They are very hot and they make a lot of noise.
But that's not where the modifications stop. As you can see, the track is wider, there's a full roll cage, Sparco steering wheel and razor sharp 4-point harnesses.
Ow, ow. I can't tell you how painful this is at the moment. Oh, I'm gonna have such nappy rash on my shoulders. Do you get nappy rash on your shoulders?
Now we're all up to speed, what's this Igo MR2 like to drive?
Driving the Igo Crazy is a proper assault on the senses, and not only because I'm strapped in here and I can't move, but also because it's noisy. The engine's right behind me. I've got no power steering, which means that in town, the steering itself is heavy, despite this being a 1,000 kilogram car. The noise, oh yeah, so that turbo blow off, amazing, but again, assault on the senses. The clutch pedal feels like I'm doing a leg press, and these are the reasons why I bloody love the Igo Crazy. Oh, the steering is so direct. It is. I know people say it so much. It's like a go-kart, but this is, in my eyes, pretty much the closest I've come to driving a go-kart on the road. You know, with the exception of a Caterham or an actual go-kart, it's wicked. The brakes themselves unservoed, which means that I've got to mash that pedal like my life depended on it, mainly because my life does depend on it. When you get above 3,500 revs or thereabouts, that's when you get the kind of kick from the turbo. It's not one of those old school turbo kicks that you're expecting. It's very linear, and for that reason this car doesn't actually feel all that fast. 0 to 60 in this takes 5.9 seconds or thereabouts depending on traction, and top speed is about 130. Not that you'd ever want to do above 100 in this, because yeah, it's really light. I thought that turbo would kick in and I'd be in a hedge, but no, it's very natural. It doesn't ever try to catch you out. What will try to catch you out is the wet. If you drive this in the wet, thank goodness we are not in the wet, but I would not like to drive this in the wet because the rear is very lively even in the dry. So the engine sits behind me. It is an MR2 Mark III 1.8 VVTi engine, except this one has got a turbocharger, so now we're packing around 200 horsepower. Just listen to this turbo. Oh, let me play you the song of my people. This is very manly car to drive. The gearbox is heavy. It's also very precise. It's a really nice gearbox. The steering, pin sharp. Look at that, just very little body roll there. And the throttle response is really good, very instant. Right, turning circle. Let's test this out. I've got a wide opening, and I'm already going to have to back up into the main road. This is shocking. Now, Toyota designed this car for fun, a bit of a middle finger to all those concept cars that you see at the motor shows that never actually make production. And for that reason, oh God, this hurts so badly. Anyway, for that reason, this car isn't the most practical car in the world.
It is awesome, and I really hope that the guys at Toyota rob a pharmacy again soon.
One thing's for certain, this Toyota is definitely not your average Igo.